Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Bailey Braun, and the weekend is already over. It just seems to always go by so fast. But looking ahead this week, we actually have kind of a lot of weather going on, but mostly for southern Alaska. The rest of the state is staying relatively dry, but the Aleutians also have a change on the way for some weather. So as we jump right into it, I'll kind of tell you what's going on statewide and what that means for your work week. Now, as we're looking at the autumn viewing, I just wanted to show you this in case you're a big fan of the autumn colors and just the fall leaves and everything. I know I am, so it's kind of nice to know when exactly that's going to happen. So if you're in Fairbanks, now is honestly a really good time for those peak leaf colors to start to come out. This is prime time for Fairbanks. We're still a couple of weeks away from that happening in Juneau, but in South Central, that's just coming up in about a week or two. We're going to see that peak color coming in. So if you want to go and plan something to go see the autumn colors or go on a beautiful fall hike, that's kind of your reference to know when exactly it's going to be the best time for that. Now with our headlines today, I love this picture so much. It just shows, the snow-capped mountains and just the fall feeling in general. So in general, looking ahead, the fall equinox is on the way, a little over a week away, but that termination dusting is also on the way. I know that a lot of people have been talking about it and we haven't really gotten much, but I know that over in Palmer there's been some termination dusting happening over there, and especially for the higher elevation regions in general, we have been getting some snow. So winter is coming. I hope you're prepared for that, but we've already been feeling those fall conditions and it's been feeling really nice, those temperatures staying average, and then some wet weather is on the way, and that's what we're having right here in South Central and in just southern Alaska in general. A lot of rainfall is on the way. However, dry conditions are going to remain in western Alaska and also for the interior as well. Now, I know I just mentioned the first termination dusting, but our first inch of snow is a little over, it's about 2 months away, at the end of October in Anchorage, and then of course that's coming up pretty soon, just a few weeks away for early October in Fairbanks, and then it's still a bit of ways for Juneau, but of course Juneau does have a lot of rain coming, so maybe that'll make up for the inch of snow that's still yet to come, and that will come later on in the season. Now, just looking at our upper level forecast, this low pressure system is what we're really going to be talking about today. It's going to be bringing in a lot of rain into Juneau and just southeast in general. Ketchikan is actually going to get some of the most rain for the region, but you can see that line of, it's a mixture of green into light green into yellow. That's what we're focusing on, that atmospheric river. As that starts to push through going into Monday and Tuesday, that's what's bringing in moderate to heavy rainfall. And with that, we're also getting some storm warnings as well, but mostly for the ocean and the coastal regions as well. So also another thing I wanted to mention about this is that you can kind of see a little, ridge of green moving over the Aleutians. That is another low pressure system that we're going to be talking about as the week progresses, but this is right now projected to bring a little bit of rain for the Aleutians as well, but mostly for those western islands. So if you're in Adak or if you're in Shemya, that's where we're expecting to see a lot of rain coming on through, and that's going to be about 3/4 of an inch for Shemya, but that's kind of what we're looking forward to and kind of what we're monitoring for the coming weeks. But the big story for today and just for this week in general is going to be Monday's heavy rain for southeast, and even in South Central we're going to get a little bit. So this is the storm. I wanted to show you this so you can kind of get a better view of it. You can see all of that band of moisture and all those clouds kind of wrapping around our little wind gust lines. Then you can see the shape of that low pressure system as well. So that's what's going to be coming in and hitting southeast, and that's what's bringing in that heavy rain as well as those strong winds. So the gale warning has been issued for those areas where the two low pressure systems are located. So we've got the western Aleutians and then also down in central or southern Alaska as well. So then that dark purple, that's actually a storm warning that's been issued for those coastal regions, and that just means, if you are out on the ocean, if you're going to go boating at all, I would not recommend it, because that storm warning indicates 8 to 9 foot increases for wave heights, and then that's also including the gale force winds and the heavy rain that is on the way. So just a lot of weather happening in southern Alaska, but that's kind of it. There's not really a whole lot happening in western Alaska, but what is happening for southern Alaska is, it's sizable, especially for southeast. So looking ahead, this is that low pressure system that's moving through. You can see all of the the green and the yellow bringing in some moderate rainfall, and then you can see some of that purple and pink moving on through. That's that mixture of frozen precipitation, including snow. So that's for those higher elevation regions. But Ketchikan, you are going to get quite a bit of rain for tomorrow and going into Tuesday as well. So that moisture is really sticking around. Even progressing into Tuesday night, you see that second round of moisture that's going to come through. So in South Central, we're going to have that here as well, but Copper River Basin, you're going to see a bit more of that, but Kodiak is the main place in South Central where you're going to see most of that rain coming on through. So with our expected rainfall, most of that, like I said, is in Kodiak. We're going to see over just about 1.5 inches of rain moving on through for Kodiak into Monday night. Seward, you're going to see just about 1/2 inch of rain, and then of course for Ketchikan, we're going to see almost 3.5 inches of rain moving on through, and then Yakutat is that other area that's going to see some more heavier bits of rainfall. So it's projected for that special weather statement that's in Southeast right now, 1 to 3 inches is what the National Weather Service is forecasting for Southeast and that region. So just taking a closer look at what's happening right there, you saw that little burst of color, and that's those higher elevation regions getting some, more frozen precipitation, and then you see that orange bit over Ketchikan. That's some heavy rain moving on through. So you got to be prepared for that if you live in Ketchikan, but then you see that moisture just kind of gliding on through the region, moving up north through Juneau, and then heavier precipitation and snow on the way for Yakutat as well. So then by Tuesday, you get another round of that moisture moving on through. So it's going to be an active week of weather for you in Southeast, especially for Tuesday and Monday. Those are the big weather days for Southeast. But then with that expected rainfall, like I just mentioned a second ago, you're going to really add up some rain totals. So everywhere is getting at least 1/2 inch of rain, but then those other areas getting a little bit more rain is going to be Ketchikan, of course, and then Yakutat, you're going to see a little bit more rain. So if you're in those areas, be careful. This could end up bringing in some flood advisories and flood warnings as well. So Southeast Alaska, you guessed it, there's just rain across the board for the regional forecast, but temperatures are still staying relatively normal. I'm not so sure that with all that rain you really care too much about what the temperature is, but yeah, temperatures are staying relatively normal, but lots of rain is on the way for Southeast Alaska. Now for the interior, things are staying relatively calm and quiet. We're seeing those cloudy conditions moving on through, but partly sunny to partly cloudy skies, so it's not going to be completely overcast, but temperatures are staying relatively normal, a little bit warmer than what you've been seeing the last couple of days. For the northern slope, we're seeing those temperatures about where they should be for this time of year, but sky conditions are going to be a little bit of mix of partly cloudy to partly sunny skies. Western Alaska, you're just staying high and dry. Temperatures staying relatively normal for this time of year, pretty much around 50 degrees for the whole region, and then you're going to have mostly sunny skies across the region as well. So can't complain too much. That sounds kind of nice for the fall time, especially since you're in a good blooming season for those fall colors to start to roll in. Now for the Aleutians, like I mentioned earlier, those western islands, you're going to start to see some rain coming in by tonight and tomorrow, and some gusting winds as well. ADAC, you're going to have wind speeds from 20 to 40 miles per hour, and then you're going to see a lot more of the rain starting to push on through the Aleutians as we progress into Tuesday and Wednesday. That's when it's going to start to make its way towards the Alaska Peninsula. So just keep that in mind, but temperatures still staying in the 50s. You're in pretty good shape for sky conditions until Tuesday and Wednesday roll in more rainfall. Now for Southeast, we're seeing mostly overcast skies heading into Monday. You already saw those bands of moisture from that low pressure system. That's exactly what's causing that. So you'll be able to kind of see it rolling in, but those more rainy areas for that low pressure system, at least for Monday, are going to be Seward and Kodiak. But Kodiak is the main place in Southeast that's really going to see some of that rain moving on in. But temperatures staying pretty normal in the mid-50s, and then Copper River Basin is also another one of those spots that's going to catch some more rain, and that's Cordova and Whittier, but temperatures also staying normal in the mid to low 50s. And for Matsu, we're seeing temperatures in the high 50s, so pretty warm for this time of year, but then mostly cloudy skies throughout the region. And then here in Anchorage, we're seeing those temperatures in the mid-50s with overcast skies for tomorrow. So looking at the 7-day forecast, those overcast skies are going to continue into Monday and Tuesday. Now I just want you to know that if you're in Anchorage, you might get some scattered showers, but those are going to be relatively light for Monday in the afternoon hours. So if you do get showers, they're just going to be light showers. We're not getting a whole lot of rain compared to the other areas, but then Tuesday you'll have an increase of that rainfall, and then Wednesday is really the bigger rainmaker for Anchorage. But temperatures are still staying relatively warm in the mid to high 50s for this week, so staying kind of on track for temperatures compared to what we saw last week, which was pretty crazy. So in Fairbanks, we're also seeing those mostly cloudy skies rolling on in, and then temperatures staying relatively normal in the mid to high 50s as well. So, you know, we've got some similar conditions happening for South Central compared to the interior, but of course the interior is still staying much more dry than we are over here. We've got some more rain on the way, like I showed you in that low pressure system. So the big thing to take away from all of this is that if you're in Southeast, you have a lot of rain coming your way, so just be prepared for that. Just stay weather aware, and that's really the most important thing that you can do. And if you're in the Aleutians, expect some rain to start to roll on through in the next couple of days, but more western islands, you're going to have that rain starting as early as tonight going into tomorrow. But of course, western Alaska, the slope, and then like I mentioned, the interior, you're still staying relatively dry, so don't expect too much rain coming your way, at least this week. But you know, things can change. New storm systems pop up as we progress through the week. So just keep that in mind, and you know, if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out and ask. But I hope everybody has a great work week. You stay ahead of that weather over there in Southeast, and just, you know, make sure that you're weather aware, but have a great week and a great rest of your weekend.